When Dick asked me a couple months ago to speak at this event, his timing, I guess, couldn't have been better or worse, depending on your perspective. I was in a place where I was pondering a career change after 34 years as a journalist, and we'll get into more about how the business model of the American newspaper is dying, and that's another part of this story. But I was pondering a job offer and a career change, and so I was very reflective when Dick reached out to me, and I was already thinking about a lot of these things because I was plotting my future. I'm 59 years old, and I'm going to change careers completely at 59. Was I kidding myself? Can I reinvent myself? Would the world accept me in a new role? I had been offered a newly created position for a Milwaukee company called Graef, Graef, as the director of communications. So the way it works is for 34 years, I was on the receiving end of corporate America's press releases every day, and on deadline, and I was with my reporters deciding what was going to be covered and what our readers were going to read and learn about. Now I'm making a jump into corporate America that I've been covering for 34 years, and the question is, will I survive in the real world? And I guess we'll find out. So far so good though. I started in January, and in April, Graef will be named one of the Journal Sentinel's top workplaces. And that's, for those of you who aren't familiar with the program, you can't buy your way into that award. You can't market your way into that award. It's based on one thing, how your employees rank their workplace. There's no cheating involved. And I guess when I found out that Graef was going the place that I had just joined, it was so universally approved by the employees there. It kind of validated my instincts and my decision that I'm moving to a good place. But now, because of the ironic situation of my new job, I had to go to the CEO of Graef, John Kissinger, who hired me, and I said, I need to get out a press release to release in April announcing that we've been named a top workplace. I need a quote from you, and I don't make quotes up for other people. So it's got to come directly from you. And 10 minutes later, he emailed back his quote. People spend so much of their life in the workplace. We think it is important that work be fun and rewarding. It's a tremendous honor to be named to this list of impressive companies, end quote. That, again, affirmed my gut instincts that I was accepting a good opportunity at an amazing company. And it validated my decision. And it was further validated when, before he hired me, he asked me to write my own job description. How could I resist an offer like that? To put my journey in perspective, time is passing by the American daily newspaper. We no longer ride stagecoaches. We no longer send telegraphs, and people get their news now as it's happening. And who wants to pay for yesterday's news to be delivered on paper at your doorstep the next day? The industry hasn't figured out how to survive in it, and I don't know that it will, as we know it anyway. But the industry, like a lot of industries, has one of the things that's flawed about it is they take the star reporters and they promote them to editors. Just like in sports, a lot of times they'll take the star athletes and presume, oh, they'll be the best coaches. And that isn't always true, because the star athlete, a lot of times the game comes so easy to them that it's difficult for them to teach the techniques and the skill set that just come so intuitively and instinctively to them. How they can't. It doesn't mean that you can naturally just teach that to somebody else who might not be as talented. The same thing happens in the journalism industry, in that the star reporters aren't necessarily the best editors. So I was a solid reporter in my 20s, and at the age of 30, I was promoted to be a city editor, to lead a newsroom of 14 reporters, about half of whom were older than me and more experienced than me, and now they're suddenly reporting to this Milwaukee kid, right? I was terrified. I had always just worried about keeping my nose clean, doing what I got to do. I had never gone to school for or taken a class in leadership or management or anything like that, remote, not even close. So I instinctively called my father, who had a similar experience and career path, actually with the National Weather Service. He had been promoted at a very young age to supervise the whole Weather Service office in Milwaukee. I called him long distance. I said, "Dad, they just promoted me. I got all these people reporting. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this." and he said, and I have no idea. My father's no longer with us. I had no idea if he had ever heard of Robert Greenleaf or read anything about servant leadership, but he knew the concept, because I still remember what he said. He said, "Leadership is simple, but it's not easy." And I didn't understand what he meant by it, but he said it's simple in that you surround yourself with the best people and you do everything you can to help them fly. And it's not easy, though, because you got to walk the walk every day and build their trust. So it's a simple concept that's not easy to execute. And those words have just stuck with me all this time. So I think he was way ahead of his time, and the job I just left, I was interviewing executives like Todd Teskey and Judy Murphy, and I'll give you some of the concepts really quickly that I learned from them. They are humble. They want to share the credit. They are intentionally accessible and approachable. They understand that, this is probably the most important thing, they understand that they have blind spots, that they don't know what they don't know. And they're aware of that, and they're alert and keen to that, and they guard themselves against their own blind spots. They know that knowledge and wisdom are journeys, not destinations. And again, like Dick Pieper, they're lifelong learners. And they're authentic. Think back to the favorite boss you ever worked for. What about him or her? What about working for that boss? I can guarantee you it was how they made you feel. It wasn't about what they paid you or the services you were providing or the products you were making. It was how they made you feel. That inspired your loyalty. And so I'll leave it there. Dick, thanks for this opportunity. And that's my dad. And his name was Elroy Jagler, and that's what I call the Elroy Principle, that leadership is simple but not easy. George Dalton was an executive that passed away that I didn't get a chance to mention, but he was the founder of Fiserv. He was acquiring companies, and he told me once when he walks the shop floor, if he's going to thinking about acquiring a company, he walks the shop floor with the CEO, and he watches the eyes of the people who work there. And if he sees in the eyes of the people that work there that they don't know who the CEO is, or that they look and they're cowering and they're afraid to say hi to him and provide input, he's not going to close the deal. He's going to walk away. He's going to run away from that company. He wants nothing to do with that culture. This is a guy I know. He's pretty smart. I came upon this guy in the last couple weeks on LinkedIn. I don't know much about him. He's a CEO of a tech company, but he keeps popping up in my LinkedIn feed, and he's had 3 of the most fascinating videos. If you want to write that name down, for all I know, he's a criminal, but he has produced like 3 videos that I found in the last week that were just spot on. So do your background check. The slide before this was Bob Harlan, the CEO of the former president of the Green Bay Packers. When I was a journalist and I needed to get a quote or some information from the Packers on the business side of things, I'd call Bob. And I didn't get a secretary. I didn't get a receptionist. His phone rang straight through to him. Bob Harlan, and anybody could call him. That's how accessible the guy was. And the final concept is altruistic, but it's the best leaders love the people they lead, and they love the mission they're on. Thank you.
Excellent.